I'd now like to share a few thoughts of my own about Sam. I recruited Sam from a chance meeting in Macaulay's Irish bar in Shenzhen. It was quite difficult of Sam to strike up a conversation with strangers, and he had a great interest in other people. It wasn't long after that Sam joined SCIE and became a valid member of our team here. You've heard a lot about Sam this evening, and I don't want to repeat these stories. I'm very grateful, though, for the stories his brothers and his family members overseas have sent to us. It gives us many more insights into Sam's many varied interests and the achievements that don't show up on a CV. Sam was a quiet and reserved man. He did not boast of his many accomplishments. I think the essential aspect of Sam's life was in his ability to invest and enjoy so many different facets of life. From being an avid reader of books at a young age, his fascination with mechanics, his work as an investment broker, as an accountant, his first degree in psychology, his teaching experience in the States and in China, and he was also a good musician, a guitarist, a fact he kept a little bit hidden from us, me in particular, but we might have tried a few tunes together. Another thing I did discover that we had in common was he saved and paid for his first bike, I think David mentioned this, by doing a paper round. I had done exactly the same thing as a boy in Scotland. Sam, however, continued with his love of bikes, and it was definitely characteristic of Sam to be seen in all sorts of places, including Tin Pan Alley, on his rather snazzy red bike. In doing so, he made a lot of genuine friends wherever he met. Some people manage to have long lives. In this respect, it might be said that Sam was a little cheated. However, the quality of life, the inspirational values that he passed on to family and friends, and the contribution that one makes in life are what make the human spirit truly remarkable. Sam had all those in full measure, and his passing, although a very sad event, is also marked this evening by the celebration of Sam's life and inspiration to us all, who are privileged to know him and cherish his memory. I would now like to call upon Dini.
First of all, I would like to say that my brother and I are really touched and honored by the number of people here. I know he was only here for a year, but our dad was such a gentle and kind soul. I'm sure he touched quite a few of you. For those of you that know him, you know that he's so patient and kind and caring. And even though we didn't see him personally as a counselor or as a teacher, it's very easy to imagine him in these roles, because with my brother and I, he was always so motivational and so supportive, and just really, you know, he really kept us going because he was always just so positive about everything.
He was always the one we turned to for advice.
When my brother and I were talking about some of the most special things about him, and there are many, one of the things that we thought was unique about our relationship with our father was that he was almost more of a friend than our father. I mean, not to say he never disciplined us or anything like that, but he was always just so understanding, and we could confide in him about anything and ask his advice, and really just trust him and rely on him for everything. I have so many happy memories, and so does my brother with him, and all of the ways that he touched us. And it's hard to think of these memories, you know, because they're painful, of course. but they also bring us great joy. And we were thinking about, so this wasn't a completely sad event, which my dad would totally not like. We tried to think of some funny stories about our father. And one of the funny ones we were thinking of was, give me just a minute. He loved to take naps, and he was always falling asleep. And one night when we were all together, we had rented a movie, and we were watching the movie, and my brother and I were sitting on the couch, and my father was laying on the floor. And next thing we realized, he's fallen asleep while we're watching the movie.
We know this because he was snoring loudly.
So there he is snoring, and then he wakes up all angry, and he says, "Who's making all that noise? We're trying to watch a movie." And then another thing is, my brother and I, he started to enjoy gardening, and he really liked plants. And so my brother and I bought him an herb garden. Well, there was thyme and rosemary and some other herbs, and most of them died. But the one plant that survived was basil, and so then he planted it in the backyard. And I guess basil kind of grows like a weed. And so when I came home from college, it had completely overtaken the backyard. Really, I mean, it was like probably 6 feet by 6 feet. It was a lot of basil, and it was like 3 to 4 feet high. So for the next, he froze a bunch of it and back every year. And so for years, we had basil with every single meal. Basil with breakfast, basil with lunch. And after I went away to college, it was years before I could eat basil again.
There is something I would like to add. I will try to keep it brief. I have a son myself, and all along, from the very beginning, what I want is to have the same kind of relationship with my son that I had with my own father. I love my father very much, and I would like to have the same kind of relationship with my son.
Thank you. Stephen Keir from the English department will now read a poem he has composed for Sam.
My poem is not about cycling, but I called it The Little Red Bicycle. You never think it's the last time for these two wanderers to share side by side on that balcony up there. You never know it's the final rhyme of tales spun and glories won. The longest day will soon be done. In the space he left behind, I see the smiling map of a lived-in face, the blue-grey lamps of a lived-in place. The warmth is easy there to find. In the space he left behind, in the thoughts he let unwind, I hear pride in the journeys of his son and daughter, calm in the face of the rising water. I can hear the echoes of husky laughter. Sam never feared what was coming after. You never think, standing side by side, that the moments are softly deleting, that it's not the rain which is wetting your face when a sweet friend's wings have stopped beating. You never know, it's the final hike, the wheels spun of his fold-away bike, its rear light fading in the Shenzhen night. But for us, it will always be shining.